this is Lavinia at Crosskeys Crafts. I'm actually in the middle of filming another video, but I need for the project to dry a little bit before I can continue. So I thought I'm going to start another video with an idea that I had a few weeks back. Lavinia released some new stamps recently, and the set includes some corner stamps. They are some sort of foliage. There are different ones, or I want to say some whirly bits, and there's some leaves in it or some circles. But I decided not to buy these. Although when I see them being used, they do intrigue me. But I thought, I wonder whether I can recreate the look of these. So what I have taken out of my collection is this branch. I've also got the Spanish moss foliage because I was looking for these sort of whirly bits for the background. And I have chosen the Lucky Clover Mini and the Forest Leaves Mini as the bits that are sort of included. So you can see I've got a different background. I had to delete a bit of footage. Something did not work. Reason being is I put down some ink on here, and then I tried to heat it or heat set this to dry this to do some embossing on it, and I think that didn't work. So I decided to do the heat embossing first of all, have nothing on there that interferes with my little stamps, and hopefully I get a better result. The idea of having ink down before was I wanted to do an ink resist. I can actually show you my slightly failed results. I used that on there, and then I actually went over this again afterwards with my blending brush. But my clear embossing powder, it's all speckled and it's not the result I wanted. So I thought rather than having the green from underneath with the clear embossing powder, I thought I should just stamp with my VersaFine colours, then use the clear embossing powder, and then do the rest as planned, do the ink blending over that. And the other thing I realised with the corner stamps, I had images here and here, and I think it's just enough to have one in the corner here, because this, I didn't want to have too much stamping there. This was a total failure as well. I don't know if the camera picks it up. I'll try to heat set this again, so there's no definition on these stamps. I don't know whether it's because I heat set the powder from the top and some has blown away. I'll give it another try anyway. So first of all, I need to use my anti-static powder tool. Do I? Yes, because I need to heat set that right over the VersaFine. So I don't need my Versamark. I will actually stamp with a VersaFine Clear and then add my clear embossing powder. So I've chosen the Summertime for the leaves at the top, and the grass green, this is one of the new colours, for the clover. So just inking this up thoroughly, and I'm just placing that in the corner here. Doing another one here, coming in from this side. Yeah, so and now I can take my powder out and just cover this quickly whilst the VersaFine Clear is still wet. And you can see that that you've covered it when you've got this sort of matte look to it. I can probably dip that one in again. Yeah, that's a bit better. So I'm doing the same at the bottom with a clover, and then I'm going to heat set this. I try this time to do it from the back. I know this is a thicker cardstock, sometimes that doesn't work well enough, but I give it a try. I think by blasting it from the front, I actually blew the powder away. So I give that another try. I got much better results this time. So I've got a very crisp look here. I'm really pleased with this, and I did manage to heat set it from the back. If you do, oh, I inked it over this. I just thought I singed it, but that was a different one. So I started again ink blending, and then I decided not to do it. So now I would like to stamp over this. As I said, I've chosen this branch and the moss, but I'm not stamping in VersaFine Clair because that would just cover this. I'm stamping in my Distress Oxides. Oop, I just touched the lamp here, which then makes it darker. Sorry about that. You can also stamp in the elements, but you don't want the any archival inks. So I decided to use the black soot for the branch and the lucky clover here for the moss. And the other thing I want this to be not straight but in a curve, and you can do that with your stamps. So it doesn't matter which way around. So I'm just setting this down here on my acrylic block, holding it in here, and then I'm bending this as much as I can without it lifting up. Even press it down. If you wanted to be cruel, you could even cut into the stamps here. I've done that once with a stamp that I wanted to curve a little bit more. Can try and lift it up, but as soon as it lifts itself up, then that's the limit you can get. But let me just see if I can do a little bit more. I'm sure I had it a little bit more earlier when I had my trial piece. Just a little bit. I just don't want it to be straight. Maybe that's enough already. Yeah, I want it a little bit more. As long as you press it down, it's fine. Yeah, I've got a good curve there. So, as I said, I'm inking this up with my black soot, like I would with your VersaFine Clair. Making sure I've got plenty of ink on there. These don't stamp as crisp as the VersaFine Clair, but they're fine. They're fine for stamping, and as we're ink blending over that anyway, it doesn't have to be super crisp. So I'm setting this down now that it's going off the paper there, and the same here. I want this to look continuous, but I also want it to cover the leaves up there. So, can you see? So I'm doing the same in the other corner. Just taking a bit of ink off the block here. Sorry if I've got my hand in the way. Doesn't even have to be, it won't be symmetrical anyway because the stamp is facing the same way. If you wanted to, you could do that in your stamping platform, but because I'm moving it around, it's quicker this way. Yeah, that's fine. So I need to fill in these areas now. I've got choices now. Either I'm doing the same again, but I don't want that. So I will basically fill it this way and that way. So I'm just inking up this side here. And I've got some scrap paper underneath it when I go over the edges. So I'm just placing this down here. You don't have to fill it in completely either because we're going to ink blend over that in a moment. So I've just got a bit of a gap there. So I'm just using the end bit there and fill it here. And I'll tell you what, I'll come in from the other side. Yeah, that's fine for me. Do a little bit on the edge there, some leftover ink, just to fill the very small corner. And then go in here. You could even have them overlapping. I've got quite a bit of gap there, but it doesn't matter. So this will definitely overlap. And then again, fill what's left white down here. Just, I might have some residue on there. I'll just do, yeah, I'm happy with that. So I just want to zoom in a little bit so you can see what I've created. And now I've got some ink on the top here. I can just wipe that off now to expose the leaves again. They're as nice as before. So, and then I can come in with another ink, the one I had originally planned, which was the rusted orange. Need to get my brush back. And now I can ink blend over this. If you want to, you could leave it to dry a little bit, but I don't mind it mixing in a little bit. So coming in a bit heavier in the corners. I might even come in with another colour afterwards. Obviously I've got a very glossy look here to those leaves, but I don't mind them popping. If you don't like the look of those embossed leaves, you can just use the branches as I had and come in with some Posca pens to add some circles or your own leaves. But I quite like the look of that. Can you see? So I'm going to do the same at the top here with the Spanish moss. Again, I've curved that, so I will be doing some stamping, and I will do that in the Lucky Clover, and then come in with my Elements Pine to fill in the background. I have finished my corners here. With this one here, I did do a bit of extra stamping here in the middle with the forest moss, and I've also come in with the mowed lawn because I found the pine wasn't dark enough for this here. But I will definitely have to put in a darker colour on the frame to frame this nicely. I might do use the denim, what's it called, dark denim I think it's called, but I also now have to choose an image for the middle. I've only done a bit of green ink blending here. This one I've kept white so far, but then I will decide what to do with that when I've chosen my image. I have decided to use Zemira. I have never used her before. I only bought her recently. I saw her on a card and she really appealed to me. I'm not really into fairies that heavily, but I thought she was quite beautiful. And yeah, I think she fits perfectly. Ideally, she would be on a slightly bigger card, and the whirly bits here interfere a little bit with the clover, but I think she will be fine. So I forgot to get my stamping platform ready. I quickly do that. Because I have never used her before, I'm just going to quickly rub over that stamp just in case there is some residue from the production. You can also off stamp her if you wanted to. So I'm placing her in here so that she sits nicely within this bow, and as I said, it's going off a little bit here. I might have to think about whether I want something to sit here at the bottom to balance this stamp a little bit, but I think she will be lovely. Move her up just a little bit, and I will also have to create some sort of base. So this time I'm using my VersaFine Claire the Onyx Black, and a bit off camera here I'm just inking her up thoroughly, making sure there is ink everywhere. Also, if there is some residue from production, I can now see if there's any ink pooling on the top, but this is fine. The only thing I do have is a little bit of ink on here, so I'm just taking that off. Oops. So, and as always, give it some time to sink, give the ink some time to sink into the cardstock. Don't rush it. And if I haven't got enough, I can always redo it in the stamping platform. Although sometimes that happens, it lifts it up, and then, yeah, there is definitely something going on here in the middle. There is a big hole in the stamp here. That is weird. Oh, yeah, there is some residue there. Maybe even just some plastic or so. Maybe something I had on my ink pad. So, stamping her up again. Hopefully the cardstock has not moved, otherwise this will be ruined now. We'll see. So applying extra pressure here in the middle. Yeah, that is much better. There is a bit of something going on there because there was something on the stamp, but it's fine. I wanted this solid black image. That's lovely. And again, this now takes the focus away. Oops, sorry, need to zoom out again. This takes the focus away from the corners, but the corners frame it nicely. So yeah, I need to create a base for her to stand on. And yeah, do I want something there? No, I think I'll leave it. I've got a bit of double stamping happening here with a hand, but it's okay. I might find something to put into her hand, so bear with me whilst I do that. I have decided to add some stars up here in her hands. I've got the Star Group Mini. My thought behind that was I could then enter it into this month's creative challenge, which I think is called Add a Star. So I've got the Versifying Clair Cheerful here. I thought about heat embossing it in gold. That would be lovely, but that means checking again that everything is dry. This way I don't need to bother about that. So I want this to overlap a little bit in the hands, so just pressing this down. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Looks like the stars are actually coming from her hands. Lovely. So at the bottom, my thought process was this. I actually find the bottom, the green disappears a little bit too much compared to the black soot at the top. So my idea is to use the what's it called, Lucky Clover again, to create the base as well, and then stamp over that again with the black soot to create the corners, and probably go even up a little bit for the corners with the black soot. So, but I want to stamp this here, but I will actually mask this off a little bit so not to stamp too much over what I have already created. I'm just using some scrap cardstock. This might almost be a bit too thick, but as always, I do things that I never recommend that you do. So see, I'm missing this bit out now, but it doesn't matter. I can just come in a little bit here from the bottom, just go up here because we're going to ink blend over that anyway, just to fill it up. It doesn't really matter. So, and then, as I said, I will now, I'm even contemplating whether I want to have a different stamp here to go over that, a different pattern, or whether I will actually use this one here again, which I really like. I'll have a little think off camera again. I have re-stamped the forest moss. Is it called forest moss? Sorry. Oh, sorry, Spanish moss foliage in the black soot. And I definitely like the look a little bit better. So I'll wipe these off again just to make sure they're still clearly visible. And I now need to create a base for her. At first I thought I'd go in with something dark, but I think it might be worth going in with a mowed lawn again. Sorry, I was going off camera there because I'm zoomed in. But this time I'm using my Lavinia Stamps stencil brush. This is the number 7 because I get a better saturation with that one than I do with my ink blending brushes. So just going in underneath her. But because this is an oxide, I've got a bit of a matte look to it. But that's fine. I try not to go over too much over her dress at the bottom, because that will show. Don't know if the camera picks it up. So, but I definitely want this a bit more defined. And that blends nicely in with the green stamping now, as if it was intended. So, and as mentioned before, I will now use the dark denim to create a frame all the way around. At first I thought using my stencil brush. I think I will use the stencil brush to just have a little bit of shade on here. So I'm just picking up ink, moving it about here, testing it here as well. I really just want a hint of it. So I can now go in underneath. Need a bit more. Make it a bit more defined. I hope the camera picks that up. And then I can fade it out a little bit here. And I think that's all I need. Maybe a little bit darker, so picking up ink from here. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So, but as I said, for the other one, I'm just using the same stencil brush. Don't need to clean it in between. I will clean it after I've used it. So, coming in here on the side. Already made a mess of that there because it's just a streak, and I've got the tendency to put my hand into the ink pads. So really just coming in from the side and then blending towards the middle, but just a little bit. So I'm doing this all the way around. I will speed this up for the video. So I'm just zooming in again to show you what I've done. I think I've had ink on here, so I've got 2 specks there that I don't really want, so I'll have to have a think of what I'm doing. I could probably do a little bit with another brush with another colour. So one thing I need to do is also, I don't like these blue strips here, so I need to ink blend these in a little bit better. So I can either use the smaller brush to move that about a little bit more. This feels a bit softer anyway. Or I could come in with other colours. This is just streaky at the moment. I think I've got too much ink on that. This is a time when it's better to step away from the card. So I'm also wiping the top of these again. I'm doing these first. and the ones at the bottom, just to take any ink residue of them. So yeah, I will just come in with my orange again, blend this in a little bit here, and then I'm coming in with a pine there, and I will quickly, oops, can't see what I'm showing, and we'll ink blend this in, and I'll have a little think of what I can do here. I could possibly, because it is water reactive, see if I can take that away with a clean brush. And ideally I do that before I do any ink blending over this. So if I just use a little bit of water, which I've got here, so I'm just misting my brush here. So I can see if I can blend that out a little bit. Obviously I can't move the ink, as in make it disappear, so it's just spreading out a little bit, gets a bit fainter, so I can ink blend over that in a moment. Not planned, but not a disaster, because I can come in with some darker colours. So just let me get my ink blending brushes ready. Although I want to keep the video short, I thought I'd just show you this. So I'm coming in with my pine again and just move this up a little bit here, just to all tie this in and get rid of the harsh blue on this side, and the same here. Although I've used the mowed lawn at the bottom, but that was for the base, I want this really to be lighter. I want to keep a halo around there, though. I might have to put a sentiment there if I can't remedy that. So then I've got the russet orange again here. Bit harsh there as well, but never mind, it's all homemade. I'll leave all these things in. They can happen, but it doesn't mean it's a bad result all over. So yeah, it's just bleeding there, but that's okay. I will choose a little sentiment that goes there. I won't do anything to her hair. I might, having said that, I might add some sparkle pen to that, and yeah, and then I think I just choose a sentiment to cover that. I could come in with a butterfly or something like that, but I could decoupage that on there, but I think no, has to be a sentiment. I'll have a little think. My card is finished. Sticker sentiments to the rescue. So I just picked this twinkle and just stuck it onto the blemishes here. As I said, I used the Spectrum Noir sparkle on the hair. Don't know if the camera picks that up. That is quite nice. And I've just popped it onto a 6x4 card. Having said that, I cut a slither off a little bit, and then the card was actually a bit too wide, so I just cut the card down. Nobody will go and measure that. But yeah, I'm pleased with it now. It's not, well, the top looks a bit like I had planned, the bottom a bit different, but I'm pleased with this. And it proves you don't need to have all the stamps to create a certain look. In that case, you don't need the corner stamps from Lavinia to create these corners, and I'm really pleased with this. And if you like this card too, you might want to give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that, and I'll see you soon with another video.